Okay, and on a serious note, yeah, okay, yeah. So anyway, I'm thinking about maybe, actually, I'm gonna probably wait until I install the air conditioner and set the window on both sides to maybe move the furniture around a little bit and have a more space and organized for the room. Okay, excuse me. And yeah, so in any case, yeah, like I had that, like I mentioned earlier. I have a Boss, a VE 20 vocal harmonic signal processor, and I'm actually starting with the flange, the flanger. The flange is it's normally an automatic standard, a must-have for like an electric guitar signal processor. I mean, sometimes it's used depending on really the type of song, or if it's going to be like a momentary issue or a prolonged issue in a specific song. You don't hear it like as commonly as maybe it was kind of like used, kind of like in the like late '60s and '70s. You heard more of what sounds like to be crossface cancellation, identified as like a flanger. Okay, and I had this, and I'm starting with that to create, like on a two-plane display of the what appears to be intersex. Truthfully, it's not really supposed to be like intersex, although on a two-plane like display window, reflecting what crossface cancellation signal processing, like involving like a three-dimensional type of special effect of like signal processing that really goes beyond like the equalizer. As far as signal processing goes, it's like a perpendicular spiral. It is a spiral. It's but it gives the impression of intersex when looking at it. when in fact, like the three-dimensional issues, like if it only gives that impression of what the sound, the peak and the crest of what appears to be um, like the valley. I might need to like really update and like confirm like the peak and the valley, the crest. Anyway, yeah. What would be the high and as far as like give the impression of like volume and decibel range with the peak and the crest of what appears to be an intersect of like a half of a normal cycle in frequency. The intersects appear to be like a half cycle, okay, as far as like a two-plane display, but in reality it's truthfully two what appears to be intersections. Truthfully, it's not supposed to be intersect, although the volume and the sound and frequency give the impression that decibel range is affected based upon the highs and lows of the frequency, and based upon that the perception of what signal strength is, and ultimately resulting in what perception of like volume and decibel range is. That actually is the impression of like what the flanger really does. Okay, so like I'm trying to like perfect. I mean I really haven't had to like manipulate or like control tonal quality or like reverb or any factors involving really harmonic signal processing and notation within the octave scale, as well as any combination of harmonizing between octaves, not necessarily within each octave of notation, but the notation of like chosen scale, if you want to call it that, within like a chosen scale, and then like combined with another scale within another octave, not necessarily a harmonizing like signal processing factor within like a multiple notation or scale within one octave, but just specifically isolating one and like combining it with like different octaves. And I think I like I say, I need to make sure it's like, I think it's a 5 octave, but I have the combination and option. I'm pretty sure I will know pretty soon. But anyway, I'm starting out with that because that's predominantly like one of the tougher to actually control and affect, and it really shouldn't be, but truthfully, seemingly that it seems to be that way. I mean, I actually thought that it would possibly, if any would of all signal processing, there would be like a common, since like that I know of like the late 60s and early 70s, which I actually heard more of it than I actually do now, truthfully so. It just depends on, what band really, truthfully so. But in any case, yeah, I'm trying to like start with that and like, get over like the, um, seek and find issue and like, find like a common standard and preference for myself and actually know the control and like have it memorized and not like be a learn as I go situation. But yeah, so likewise, like I'm going to get into that, and likewise I have that Behringer, like I say earlier, it's a Behringer Ultra Curve Pro DEQ 2496 signal processor that ranges from a 24-bit to a 96-bit. But automatically in my mind, when I see the 24 in the increments of like 24, ultimately 4 increments of 24 equated to like 96, I automatically, somewhere between the bits per second and the frequency, or if you want to call it modulation of frequency in processing, the frequency, I mean, it seems to be, with the increments, it seems like there's some converting mathematics and integration between the frequency, what would be a normal standard of mathematics and calibrating frequency as far as cyclic intensity, or maybe even tempo or processing speed, as compared to like the bits per second, which would categorize whether of a cyclic measurement of frequency as compared to the bits per second would be an integrating mathematical conversion between the two. And really, when I look at that, it's kind of like I'm looking at it kind of like that. It's like maybe I haven't really counted to this second since I've had it, but I think there's like 6 or 7 signal processors and probably about maybe 4 or 5 like meters, like a spectrum analyzer and a decibel range and signal stream, that really I don't necessarily call it anything other than metering a result of signal processing or volume itself, which is truthfully separate, but truthfully, obviously a demanded requirement and acknowledging the thing about it. But yeah, so anyway, so like I'm like trying to like really, I'm looking at it, and I've seen like up to 192. And I'm not sure if it's kilohertz or megahertz or a combination between mega or mega kilowatts or hertz. Let me rephrase that as hertz. Up to 192. And I've seen that like on home theater systems, as well as what it's actually identified as. And that's like a real big number with me, is 192 for like many reasons, really, seriously. So it's so much of electronic power, and truthfully, just to say it right now, it's like a thing of like alphanumerics involving the transfer grades in the Book of Thessalonians, and some like retroactive greatness about like the resurrection, the rapture, and all that like stuff about the Book of Thessalonians, and as well as like the Pentagon maneuver and telepathic drummer and all that good stuff. And I mean, I can go on and on about the State of the Union address and all that stuff about Washington D.C. and what 192 really means is comparison as what electronic power involving transmission and reception and frequency, as well as signal strength, as well as other comparatives of bits per second and like cyclic concentration, if you want to call it oscillation, measuring cyclic frequency per second as compared to like some converting mathematics. I haven't really looked at it, but it looks like automatically to me that there's some integrating like mathematical formulas between the frequency and the bits per second. And I'm looking at it. I mean, it's like automatically something that that I automatically thought of. So I mean, that really might be it. But truthfully so. And yeah, there's a lot about that 192. I mean, it's not really limited to biblical, but it's truthfully. I mean, that's like a big thing about the Christian religion thing, and that one word in Book of Thessalonians ultimately seems like the entire point of like the entire religious thing about Christianity, right? So, not necessarily so limited to, or the rapture, some like telepathic like 13 star in a US dollar thing. Yeah. Anyway, yes, truthfully so. Anyway, so or the 13 colonies and some like rectification. Actually, I'm still trying to grasp something about the rectification in my memory. It seems like access to the information, what was then like available, and like with it, and thoroughly recognized it, but like thoroughly ignored it at the same time, right? But there's something about rectification. It seems to be like something involving like Dr. Pepper and the 23 issue of like the 23 ingredients, as well as like the 23-year celebration. And like Dr. Pepper is really the only American product that any, food, any product, item, anything, that actually celebrate 23 years, and like a CEO issue or a MIA issue, or something about the 23 thing, and it's not limited to, or the GMC thing, right? So anyway, yeah, so like, I have a special interest in, like, that kind of thing. But anyway, so anyway, like, I'm going to, like, get into it. It's getting late already. It's like taking way longer than I thought. So anyway, yeah, like, huh. So anyway, I'm trying to get in the mood, and you know, huh, get in the mood. Hopefully, I'll like just like really get into the, like, the extremities of like really being in the mood. So yeah. Anyway, here it goes.